Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. The Department of State has released the March 2021 Visa Bulletin. So in this video, we're going to go into the changes that we are seeing with the priority dates for each country and see what progress has been made with the priority dates. Also, I'm going to get into some information and some news that just came out regarding the diversity visas. So make sure you stick around to hear that information as well. Before we get started, if this is your first time here, make sure you are subscribed. Click that red subscribe button, join the D'Angelo family. Also, turn on your post notifications so you can be notified each and every time I have an update for you. Also, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up right now so YouTube knows to spread this news throughout the platform. All right, so let's get into the March 2021 Visa Bulletin. Now, over the last few months, there hasn't been as much forward movement as we would like to see as each Visa Bulletin has come out. From December to January specifically, there was only forward movement in the final action employment based, and from January to February, there wasn't any change in the final action family-based chart. There was a little bit of movement in the dates for filing chart. There was some movement in the final action employment-based chart, but there was no movement in the dates for filing chart for employment-based categories. So very little movement over the last few months, and with March, we are seeing some forward movement, but once again, it's nothing overly impressive. And in the February Visa Bulletin, they actually listed their March predictions and what movement would likely be seen in the March Visa Bulletin. Some of it was accurate, some of it wasn't, but I'll get into more detail. To distinguish the different charts, right? You have family-based categories and you have employment-based categories, and then each of those categories have two different charts: final action, dates for filing. If you are filing an adjustment of status within the United States, you are to use the final action date chart to determine whether an immigrant visa is available to you, and you can file your adjustment of status within the United States. You use the final action date. And if you're outside of the United States and you need to consular process, you would look at the dates for filing chart. Now, as a reminder, if the Department of State determines that there are more immigrant visas available for fiscal year, then they will state that you could use the dates for filing chart in order to file your adjustment of status. So rule of thumb is use the final action dates unless the Department of State otherwise states that you can use the dates for filing. Now, the reason why this is that there's usually less of a wait time for the dates for filing than it is final action. So if there are more visas available, they'll say, okay, you can use the dates for filing chart instead of the final action. So to recap, if you're outside of the United States, you use the dates for filing chart. If you're inside the United States, you'll typically use the final action dates unless the Department of State's website indicates that you can use the dates for filing. So keep an eye on that. Now, as of right now, they have not indicated for the March 2021 Visa Bulletin which to use yet, whether adjustment of status applicants can use the dates for filing. So as of right now, you use the final action dates if you're here to adjust status, but once they come out and announce it on their website that you can use the dates for filing, then you can use the dates for filing. Let's talk about the final action dates for the family sponsored categories. So for the F1 category, for all chargeability areas and China and India, we see an increase of 1 week. Now, they anticipated there would be an increase of 2 weeks, but in fact there was just forward movement of 1 week only. For Mexico, there was forward movement of 2 weeks, and for the Philippines, it actually went back 7 days. So there was no forward movement there. There was actually backward movement of 1 week. F2A remains current. F2B, they anticipated it would be an increase of 2 weeks, but in fact it was only 1 week for all chargeability areas, China and India. For Mexico, it did move forward 1.5 months, and Philippines, there was no movement in this category. For F3, they anticipated it would be forward movement of 3 weeks, but once again, it wasn't, so they moved forward 2 weeks for all chargeability areas, 2 weeks for China and India as well. Mexico also saw forward movement of 2 weeks, and Philippines saw forward movement of 1 week. And for the F4 category, we see forward movement of 1 week for all chargeability areas, China and India, and Mexico as well. And then Philippines had forward movement of 1 month. Moving on to the dates for filing chart for family sponsored categories. Now there's no movement here at all except the F2A category. The F2A category, we see forward movement of 1 month across the board for all countries, but everything else stayed the same. Moving on to the employment sponsored categories, for EB1 final action dates, all of the countries remain current except China and India, which actually had forward movement of 7 months, which is great. In the EB2 category, same thing. Everything remains current except China and India. China progressed 1 month, India progressed 3 months. Third preference category, we saw 1 month forward movement for China again and 3 months for India. Other workers, same thing, 1 month for China, 3 months for India. For the fourth preference category, we see 1.5 months progression for El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras for fourth preference, as well as certain religious workers. And then for Mexico, we see progression of 2 weeks for fourth preference in certain religious workers as well. And then for the fifth preference, so EB5, no changes here except Vietnam has progressed 3 weeks. Now moving on to the dates for filing employment-based preference categories, we actually see no movement here except for the EB1 category. Both China and India are now current. As of last month, there was a 3-month wait time, but now it is current. There is no wait time in the dates for filing chart for China and India in the EB1 category. So those Chinese nationals and Indian nationals that filed an EB1 petition and are outside of the United States, your priority date is now current and you can start consular processing with the embassy abroad. So let's get into the diversity visas. So in the previous visa bulletin in February, they did list what numbers were expected for the diversity visa cutoff for March, and those are the exact same numbers that we are seeing for Africa: 14,000, Asia 6,200, Europe 9,400, North America 6, Oceania 900, South America and the Caribbean 1,175. Remember, your number has to be below those numbers. On February 19th, Friday night, the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia issued an emergency injunction preserving and extending the validity of most diversity visas from the 2020 diversity visa lottery, so that those diversity visa recipients may have a chance to travel to the United States before their visas expire. Now, once again, as we know, the presidential proclamation was extended until March 31st, 2021, which prevented thousands of diversity visa winners with valid visas to use those visas to enter and immigrate to the United States before those visas expired. The Department of State had actually granted national interest exceptions to diversity visa 2020 winners who had visas set to expire between February 17th and February 28th. So those diversity visa winners whose visas were set to expire in that time were actually granted national interest exceptions to be able to come in before their visas had expired, because of course expired diversity visas cannot be renewed or reissued. So although that was helpful, it did not protect the ability of thousands of other diversity visa winners whose visas had expired before February 17th or after February 28th. So that's what this court ruling does. So this is a huge win for 2020 diversity visa winners. This court injunction has preserved the validity of those visas that were set to expire. So this is really, really good news. Now, of course, provided that there are no other travel restrictions, such as separate COVID-related travel restrictions, then those diversity visa winners will be able to immigrate to the United States. If you want more information, more detailed information on how exactly to read the visa bulletin, if it's still a little bit confusing to you, I do have other videos on my channel that go into more depth on how exactly to read the visa bulletin, so I'll link it in the description below for you to take a look. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure you are subscribed with your post notifications turned on so you can be notified each and every time I have a new video for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.